What's up everyone, welcome to the Ambetter 301 Top 5 DFS Picks video for Sunday, July 17th at New Hampshire Motor Speedway with our short flat track on the schedule this weekend. As always, I'm your host Chris Pennell. You can find me on Twitter at ChrisPennell16, and this video is presented by PrizePicks. In today's video, we are going over general track strategy, how to approach the slate from a DFS perspective, and my top 5 favorite plays on the slate. Please keep in mind this video is being recorded pre-practice and qualifying, so some of my thoughts and opinions on these drivers can and will end up changing throughout the weekend. So making sure you're staying up to date on what happens on the track on Saturday and Sunday will be very beneficial to you when creating fantasy NASCAR lineups this weekend. And if you want the up-to-date information and analysis, you can find me and Jason Floyd on the Stokastic Live Before Lock show. We'll break down the entire slate and answer any questions you may end up having. And as far as how we should approach this slate from a DFS perspective, it's going to be quite different from the past few weekends where we were at road courses and plate tracks. We're back to caring about dominator points. We have just over 300 laps this weekend. So that means a good chunk of dominator points available to us, over 200 to be exact. So building laps with multiple dominators up top is going to be the best way to go. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of good place differential plays, but you're going to have to soak up dominator points up top to be able to take down tournaments this weekend. You're going to be looking at least 2. You might be able to stretch that to 3. And just looking at drivers that are fast at similar tracks this year, so Richmond, Phoenix, obviously New Hampshire's another short flat track, so we're throwing those all in together. You can look at Martinsville a little bit as well. And Gateway we were at a couple weeks ago, which is a newer track for the Cup Series, but it's also a short flat track where I think we'll see a lot of similarity between these two tracks this weekend. So just make sure you see who's going to be fast in practice, because a lot of time that will translate towards the race. So getting into the picks, we will start with number 5, and it's a cheaper driver, but a driver that I think is a bit too cheap on both sites this weekend. It's Dillon, $63 on DraftKings, only $1,500 over on FanDuel. While he's not a flashy driver, as I always say with Dillon, he's usually a more boring and consistent driver, which is really all you'd want from a guy that's at this price point. You don't need anything flashy here, but just need a nice solid finish, which is what he does at short flat tracks so far this year. He finished 15th at Gateway, 3rd at Martinsville, 10th at Richmond, 21st at Phoenix, but even then a top 20 contender at this price point is really all you want, depending on where he's going to end up starting. But I do think there is legit top 15 upside here with an average finish of 12.3 at the short flat tracks this year, and finishing inside the top 15 3 out of 4 times. So love this price point on Dillon. He's also averaging close to 50 DraftKings points per race at short flat tracks this year. And moving on to number 4, we have to mention last year's winner, Aric Almirola, $8,100 on DraftKings, $1,700 over on FanDuel. And while he did kind of win because the JGR cars got wiped out due to weather concerns at the beginning, or weather issues, I should say, at the beginning of the race, Almirola was still super fast and was going to be a top 5 contender in that race either way. And he's had a very good track record here at New Hampshire. 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s. And if you're looking at his performances at short flat tracks so far this year, he finished 5th at Gateway, 8th at Martinsville, and 12th at Phoenix, and his pit road team has been very solid so far this year, which is going to help him gain spots and maintain spots throughout the weekend. So every single time on a short flat track, I always have additional Aric Almirola, and it's not going to change this weekend. And moving on to number 3, so the driver right above him in price on both sites, but it's Kurt Busch, $8,200 on DraftKings, $8,000 over on FanDuel. And similar to Aric Almirola, he's been very solid at the short flat track so far this year. Did have one incident at Richmond where he finished 35th, but outside of that, 3rd at Gateway, 6th at Martinsville, and 5th at Phoenix. That 35th place finish is going to bring down his averages, but once you look past that, he has some of the better numbers in the entire field. He's also got a decent track record at New Hampshire, always in the top 20, top 15, top 10 contender with an average running position right around 11th place. So at this price point, Kurt Busch, he offers you legit top 5 upside, and if the Toyotas bring speed this weekend, it's going to be hard to look past Kurt Busch. Before we get into our next pick, I want to talk about our sponsor, PrizePicks. They offer daily prop-based contests. You can use promo code OSMO for a $100 first match deposit bonus. There is no sharks, optimizers, or mass entries. 5-player lineups can add up to 10 times your entry fees. Use your knowledge of multiple sports with cross-sport entries. Download in the App Store, over in Google Play, or play on PrizePicks.com. And you can use our free player prop tools to help you make the best selections. And you can get 1 free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum when you sign up and make a deposit over at PrizePicks. You receive your email within 24 to 48 hours after you redeem your free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum. And moving on to number 2, it was hard to pick between a couple drivers here. I do want to give an honorable mention to Chris Rebel just because how good he is at short flat tracks. I do worry about the pit team that he has this weekend with Bubba Wallace since they switched. Either way, his team wasn't that great, but I just want to give him an honorable mention. But number 2 officially here, Ross Chastain, $98 on DraftKings, 11.5 over on FanDuel. I felt like it would be weird leaving off Ross Chastain in top 5 picks video because every single weekend you have to have interest. I would not recommend looking at his New Hampshire history just because a lot of it was in really poor equipment. Obviously this year has been a completely different story. He's arguably had the fast car just about everywhere so far this year. He's arguably been the best driver. The only thing going against him right now is that he's made a lot of enemies on the track, especially after last weekend, as he has now had 2 incidents with Denny Hamlin without getting payback, and he's also made a lot more enemies on the track throughout various weeks so far this year. So at some point, it's gonna come back on Ross Chastain. We're gonna see him on the wall at some point, but I am not sure when that is going to be. But if it's not this weekend, I mean, he finished 2nd earlier in the season at Phoenix, 5th at Martinsville, 8th at Gateway, Green Flag Speedwise. He checks out very well. I feel like his numbers are short flat so far this year, close to 50 DraftKings points per race, in the top 5 50% of the time, in the top 10 3 to 4 times. Hasn't really been a lap leader yet, but still picking up fast laps. But if he can qualify well and put himself in good track position, his pick career has been very solid this year. He definitely has a chance to get up front and dominate with some of the best odds this weekend to win the race. And obviously this season been one of the overall top dogs. So below 10K, I think you're gonna get a really nice price point of Ross Chastain. And he's definitely someone I want to look to take advantage of. And finally, my number 1 DFS play for the Ambetter 301 at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. It's got to be Ryan Blaney, only $10,000 on DraftKings, but all the way up to $14,000 over on FanDuel. So a pretty big price discrepancy there. But he did open up as the odds-on favorite to win this race in Vegas, which I was a little bit surprised by. After thinking about it, I think it definitely makes sense, but we usually know Kyle Larson does get the major juice over in the sports books most weeks, but there has been no better driver at the short flat tracks this year than Ryan Blaney, average green flag speed-wise. He's the fastest by a good margin. And if we're looking at his finishes so far this year at similar tracks, 4th at Gateway, honestly should have won that race, had multiple incidents during that race, but still brought in a top 5 finish, was arguably the best looking car on the track. 4th at Martinsville, 7th at Richmond, and then 4th at Phoenix. He's averaging the most DraftKings points per race at the short flats this year, the best average finish, the best running position, by far the best driver rating, and also the most top 5s, the most laps led, and the most fast laps. So I think you guys are getting the idea here. Ryan Blaney, this has been his bread and butter track type even for a couple of seasons now, not just this year. I love this price point on DraftKings. I think he should honestly be at least the 2nd highest priced driver on DK, but you're getting him at the 6th. So I think we are getting some decent value there. Obviously over on FanDuel, a little bit tougher to fit him in, but Ryan Blaney definitely looking like the top dog heading into this weekend. So just to recap, at number 5, we have Austin Dillon. Number 4, Aric Almirola. Number 3, Kurt Busch. Number 2, Ross Chastain. And number 1, Ryan Blaney. And all these drivers have either been super fast at short flat tracks this year, have great track history at short flat tracks, or also have been pretty good at New Hampshire and showed some speed overall this season as well. And if you did end up enjoying today's free content, make sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you are brand new. We'll be here every single week, and there's a ton of other content on the page each and every single day. And feel free to leave a comment down below, agreeing or disagreeing with any of the takes I had, or maybe your own favorite top 5 drivers heading into this weekend. And if you want that more updated info and analysis once we get practice and qualifying, you can find me and Jason on the Live Before Lock show an hour before, where we'll break down the entire slate and answer any questions you may end up having. But with that being said, I wish you all the best of luck this weekend. I just typically love short flat tracks from a DFS perspective because they tend to be a little bit more projectable. So hopefully that leads to some pretty good DFS wins this weekend.